Hello, it's August 12th, 2021, SIG Node CI subgroup meeting. And today we have a few items on the agenda. Let me share my screen. Okay. Can you see it?
Yes.
Let's start with agenda items, then we will go to the dashboard.
Sounds good. First item is from me. Let's punt that to the end, because I would like to actually triage things. I think it was just the first thing that made it on the agenda.
Okay. Mike wanted to discuss something, but then you said it. Maybe it's merged.
No, it's not merged, but I already talked offline with Elena with it. Not really need to talk about it anymore.
I saw it on the agenda and I reached out. So.
Okay. Yeah, we need the reviewer for that. Anyway, we will get the reviewers soon. Look, contention test failing.
So I guess I can talk a little bit about that one, and that is why Imran is here. So basically, I was looking at test grid, and I discovered that the Node kubelet features master tests were failing, and the reason they were failing is because these new Node feature lot contention tests were failing on that job for some reason. And that was a little puzzling to me because I wasn't sure why slow disruptive tests were running as part of that suite. So I felt like that should have been excluded to begin with. The other thing is that the job that is running those tests, it only is running like the one test and nothing else. So I thought all of this was a little bit weird, and I figured we should discuss today. So the issues is closed because I just reverted the addition of the tests because I was like, it's breaking a release informing thing. Let's go figure it out first before we have this merged. I was not sure why it wasn't showing up in the pre-submit CI. So anyways, it was just the easiest thing for me to do is to click the button to revert it and not like do any further investigation. This is not like me saying we don't want these tests. This was just me making the dashboard go green in the laziest way possible. So I think we should talk about this. What should we do about this test? Given that it's a slow and disruptive thing, I don't think it makes any sense to be running in the standard kubelet features suite. So I'm not sure why it got picked up there.
So just before that, so I mentioned one of the dashboards which was showing green runs. So what was about that? That dashboard showing green runs, whereas the kubelet master test showing red.
Yes, Sergey, can you scroll down? So if you scroll up a little bit, there's a link to another dashboard.
I think it was in the Slack somewhere.
The comment above that one. Yeah, there we go. The one that says it's got green runs. So if you click on the one that says it has green runs, and you look at this, it is a job where like literally the only thing it's doing is running that one test and nothing else. So
yeah, that's what we discussed with Artyom before. We wanted to have this test, and we decided similar to some other features, this is so disruptive that made it on its own tab.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if so clearly like it being serial disruptive. So the thing that we're seeing is that when we run it against the like regular feature suite, which I don't think it should be there, it times out, which suggests to me that like probably the reason it's passing here is because there's nothing else competing with it on that cluster. But I don't actually know, like, do we want to, because like it's so related to this, I added another agenda item because we are constantly getting alerts that we are exhausting our available project resources in Node. We have a lot of like single feature test jobs right now. I'm wondering if maybe we should consolidate some of them because like, do we really need to like spin up, like a node to like run just this one test? Or can we like maybe run a few tests?
pendulum is coming back, right? When we had all the tests together, we like been so fed up with flakes all the times that we decided like we need to start.
Like I think
pushing
it's
them
good to
separately.
isolate things that are disruptive, but like if it's disruptive, why not just make it a serial test?
Yeah, serial may be a good alternative here because I think specifically for this test is it doesn't kill the node, for instance, because like we have graceful termination thing. It initiates like node shutdown. I mean, it emulates it, but kubelet thinks that it goes into node shutdown. So I'm not sure whether like how kubelet will behave after that, like whether it will be like stable enough. So maybe it deserves its own tab.
So for the folks who are new on the call, I feel like we owe you some explanation here in terms of what we're talking about. So in test grid, we have a bunch of different jobs, and each one of these little tabs on this dashboard, of which you can see there are a lot, corresponds to, if you see in that sort of, it says like in tiny text over the bold text, which looks like a title, there's like a config URL, which like links to a YAML file. So that's where that job is defined. And each one of these jobs is like going and spinning up a bunch of infrastructure and running some tests on it and then tearing it down on a periodic interval, which is why we call these periodic jobs. And so you can see this one's running like every 4 hours or something like that. And so every time that happens, like we spin up some nodes, then we run the tests on them, and then we spin it all down. And when we're trying to decide what tests to run on them, we use what's called a test selector. And there are like various ways that we can select these tests. So typically like SIG nodes jobs will be running test tagged SIG node, like in the square brackets. But that's not all we can select on. And so Sergey and I are talking about the serial tests, and serial tests must be run like one after the other. They can't be parallelized. So if they're disruptive, then like they won't compete with other tests on the cluster. And so that's why we have this this whole tab. Yeah, that's the container D1, where we run a bunch of tests serially and we retry them. So we can see sometimes some of these are like flaking, and they pass most of the time, but not necessarily all the time. So like a slow test, I think takes more than 5 minutes to run or something like that for the E to E's. And there are other various tabs. So you can see if you look at the test names in that sort of grid on the left, there are some slow tests. There are all of these in this particular tab will be labeled serial because this is the serial suite, so they'll all run after one another. And most of them are tagged with like a particular feature. So that feature is like not GA. So we may want to be able to like separate that out to test it in different things, and that gives us the opportunity to easily do so. That is your test grid update in case everybody's like, what does it mean to do a thing in a serial test versus not? You can read more about this in the end-to-end test documentation. And I'll link that for the agenda.
I think serial, like slow, only indicates that it wouldn't run as PR validation. So it doesn't exclude it in, from other tabs. That's why we see it in features. Probably the reason for that.
Yeah, I think normally we do not tag disruptive tests, not serial usually, because otherwise they'll break things.
It's almost like.
So what's the? Sorry, I was saying what should be the course of action for this particular test, because it has been quite. I would say that it has been quite some time this task has been lying around. We want to get this flags to kubelet configuration rather than just replicate.
I think basically the issue was that we missed adding a serial tag in the end-to-end tests. So they got added to the wrong suite and they were disruptive and they failed every time. I think we want these in the serial suite and not in the regular feature suite.
Okay,
and
so
yeah, and if we add it to serial, we need to remove this new tab for that.
Yeah, yeah, and I think we should add it to serial. Hopefully, we'll get good signal on that, and then we should remove some of these like one test tabs because we're We're running out of resources, it turns out.
Okay, so this is my first time, so I don't understand one thing. So if that tab is removed, and then it should go to which tab, that particular test?
So it's not like we're physically moving a thing in a tab. The tabs are just the
No,
representation.
I understand.
Yeah.
Right.
If we tag the test with serial, which I think it should be because it's a disruptive test, then it will automatically get picked up by the serial jobs, and then we don't need this separate job. I think that was just an oversight in review, that if this is a disruptive test, we should have tagged it as serial, and we didn't.
Like some additional reason for like separate tab can be some special requirements. For example, Hugh Pages test requires like additional configuration on the operating system for
And
1
like a special
gigabyte.
node, right? But this one doesn't need a special node.
Yeah, like again, we need like to separate it, and I'm totally agree that for example, on some stage we can just to remove like memory manager like tab, for example, and CPU manager. It should not require some special treatment. I think again, like I am sure regarding the costs, for example, because CPU manager and memory manager tabs they run on top of instances with 4 CPUs, and like if it's 4 CPUs, it's automatically receive like 16 gigabyte of memory. It's some mapping between GC instances. The question if like we will now change the serial lane to run with 4 CPUs, and we will remove additional tabs for memory manager and CPU manager, will it improve like the situation or not? Because like for example, we have PR not kubelet serial that run now currently on each pull request, right? Because I don't remember that we ran before it like kubelet serial lane on each pull request, and now we are running it like PR not kubelet serial one, and the same for containerd. We now is running it for each pull request. So it's a question if you will like increase the instance size for such jobs, will it improve the situation with with the cost of GC or like otherwise? I don't know.
I mean, we could also run it like less frequently too. I think I don't know. I'm not the price calculator person. The issue is less, I think, right now. I mean, quota and costs are related. Right now, we're constantly bumping up against our quota. So, like, I think that suggests we probably want to remove some jobs or consolidate some jobs, because I know, like, I think a bunch of these tests are running like every 4 hours, and some of them are running with 8 nodes. And I don't think that we need to do that. And like, probably, I mean, I can't say for sure, but probably it might be cheaper to slightly upsize some of the nodes in certain tests and remove a bunch of other ones, particularly if they're running with 8 nodes. So
yeah, then we're losing the ability to change the interval separately. But yeah, maybe we can. I think
I mean,
we
we
need
could
to
also
decide
reduce
case
the
by case
interval,
basis.
but I think a bunch of these can just be consolidated. Like the swap test, they need special stuff. Anything that needs to run on C groups v2 needs special infra, but I think everything else is kind of like, we can probably squish it all together.
And some additional questions, like for like serial lane, we are requiring some GPUs to run GPU test. Again, how does it like? I don't know how it's again. If it's more expensive instance or less expensive. So for example, GPU, we can like move to the separate lane because it's requested GPU. And so we can make this job manual. For example, if you just change something related to GPU test, you can manually request to run it. Like the same thing we have for the like non-periodic memory manager,
so
CPU manager.
That one falls under, we need different infrastructure for it, so we should have a separate job for it. So basically the question is like, could it run on nodes like as part of a standardized suite, or does it need special infrastructure? So for example, swap needs special infrastructure because none of our tests run with swap enabled except for the swap tests. Whereas like if we look at, for example, the say, I don't know, like the lock contention test, for example, they don't need like a special node or anything like that. They don't have to be running on their own. They could be running as part of like a suite running on other nodes. It just might take a little bit longer, and that's fine. There's no point in like going and having its own tab and spinning up its own thing. It's just one test. So there's a bunch of tests like that where we could say like, we should see like, does it need special infrastructure or does it not? If it doesn't, let's try to consolidate. So for example, like GPUs, that's special infrastructure. We don't normally run with those. Or if something needs like C groups v2, that's special. We don't normally run with C groups v2. So those are the sorts of situations where we probably do want individual jobs for those things.
Yeah, and also if test completely breaking something like graceful node shutdown may leave kubelet in unknown state. There's also a reason to have a separate tab. By the way, I haven't seen before that graceful termination is totally down. Don't have a bug for that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, we should have a failing test for that, but I'm not sure.
For a while now. Maybe it's running somewhere else in Python. Okay. I hope not. No. Okay. At least this is good. That we like separated it cleanly. Okay, so action items here. Imran, can you follow up on that? Like add serial, make sure that it runs in serial, and then we can remove this extra job.
Sure. So just to get it right, so the current test, I need to add a serial tag. The PR that was reverted, I need to add a serial tag to there. And the PR that got added for in test infra repo for the job, that needs to be reverted, right? So that shouldn't be there anymore.
My suggestion is before we revert the job that's in test infra, what we should do is we should add the serial tag, let that bake for a bit, make sure it's actually passing in both that tab and the serial suite, and then remove the tab.
Perfect. Thanks. I'll get to it. I'll do the needful.
Thank you. And sorry for extra work. It just our test infrastructure not ideal.
This
No,
should have been
that's
caught
okay.
earlier. We missed it. It's fine. We're fixing it. And luckily, Sergey and I both have Approver now, so we should be pretty responsive in terms of fixing it.
I don't think we could have found it because we don't run features as part of PR validation.
I thought we did because it's release informing, so I'm very puzzled by that.
I don't think we do. The features are separate. And it's marked as slow. Like nothing marks as slow, like runs as part of PR validation.
That is true.
Okay, so one question: could this be of any significance? So there were two separate PRs, one in the test infra and one in the Kubernetes repo for this end-to-end test. And the E2E test PR got merged first before the job, the test infra.
That won't make any difference. That just
Okay.
means that the test infra job didn't exist. So
Okay.
like Prow wouldn't be running it. But because it wasn't marked serial, it got picked up by the existing features job, which is like, I see a node feature, I'm going to run this. And it was failing, so.
Okay, all right.
Talking about test grid cleanup.
Yeah,
Is
I
that
didn't get a time to submit a PR. I think this is a really good thing for someone new to work on because it's mostly just renaming things and it will help get you familiar with infrastructure. I would like a volunteer for this because then I can just help you with it.
I'm not sure how much time I will have after this, but if I do, I'll definitely reach out to you, Ilana, regarding this volunteer.
I think this would be a good thing for like, if we have a contributor who wants to contribute on an ongoing basis and wants to learn things about test grid, this is a good opportunity to, Aditi, you put your hand up. Do you want to volunteer?
Yeah, Yeah, I can help on this. Like, so you said again about like one thing is, are we talking about the same cleanup, like increasing the interval and consolidating the tabs, or?
So that's the next item on the agenda. This one is even easier than that. If we go to the test grid tab, you can see we have like a billion jobs here, and a bunch of them are labeled PR. So we want to just move everything that's labeled PR into like a SIG Node pre-submits tab. Because it's a little bit weird that we're mixing in test grid a bunch of like pre-submit tabs, which are when you run
with periodic one.
Yeah, but with periodics, they're all in the same place. So we were talking about just because there's like 30 jobs or something showing up in SIG Node kubelet, that we should move those into a SIG Node pre-submits tab, and then maybe also look at like some of the other existing tabs that we have, because like we have like containerd and containerd.io and like a bunch of other stuff that is just like, do we really need that separately or do we not? Like maybe we can get away with not. So.
Okay, so one question on that, like we don't have a pre-submit tab here in this grid, right? You have to create one and move all the pre-submit jobs there.
Creating one is pretty straightforward, I believe. Like it's basically just renaming, and I think if you try to like the CI will catch it if like you make a mistake. So.
Yeah, basically we want to make it more understandable.
Yes, we want to do some cleanup so that we don't have all of the. Let me just pull up the SIG Node notes to make sure that this is all written down here. So we want to move, and I'm sorry, my typing is super slow. I don't know what happened, but like a week ago, Google Docs has just gotten ridiculously slow. So we want to move the like PR jobs out of the SIG Node kubelet tab to a new SIG Node pre-submits tab. My keyboard is catching up with me.
Aditi, if you want, I can work with you on this.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Cool. Great. And
I hear you typing. I don't see anything appearing here.
it's like literally going like letter by letter. There's like a delay for I think it's just got really, there's some sort of JavaScripty regression. Anyways, it continues to go. It's just super slow. Okay, I think it should all be there now. It's quite amazing, and I don't know how to fix it.
You just spoiled with technology, right? Everything's supposed to be right away.
Yeah, there we go. It's there. It's there. Oh, I spelt some things wrong. Great. This is what I get.
And the typos come all at once.
Yeah, they do. I can't even fix them. Yeah, so that sounds good. So I guess.
So another thing we discussed, we wanted to remove release blocking from here because we already have release blocking as a separate tab.
Right.
So maybe we can create an issue and discuss all the cleanups we need to do.
Yes, I can do that.
Yeah.
Here, and then I will create an issue. Oh, it's so slow. Remove. Okay. I think that's everything for that one.
Okay. Let's go to the next item. Thank you for everybody volunteered. Yeah, we are doing good right now. Yeah, not hitting this threshold.
Yeah, so I mean, you can see like the spikes happen, and I think that the granularity of this chart is such that you can't necessarily see the spikes easily. I put last 90 days on there because I think that was like all of the history you could see. But like basically since the freeze unfroze, we've had pretty high utilization. And I think there's some threshold that whenever we get over it, we get an alert. And I know that definitely happened during code thaw when we had a big pileup of PRs. And that happened, I think, yesterday again. So I think we're running like, yeah, there's one of them where we run out of resources. So it seems like our average utilization has definitely gone up over the last 90 days, particularly since like the test freeze unthawed. So it's probably like reasonable of someone to like, this is a small project. We want to see why our utilization has gone up so much and maybe see what we can do to like shrink it, because, you know, probably the right thing to do is to not ask for a quota increase, but rather more effectively use the quota that we have.
Yeah, I think it coincides with the time when we start looking at serial very actively. So I think serial may have introduced this.
But this is only like, we're only looking at like the last week. So like that's only to the end of July. I mean, we've been looking at serial tests now for like 2 months. So.
No, we haven't put it into PR validation. So now we can run it as part of PR validation. Right?
We've been doing that for like, I think most of July.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Okay.
Yeah, like this graph goes all the way back to like May, I think. But I'm certain that we got that fixed in like June or July, and the spike has been basically just during like the last 2 weeks of code freeze. But we were spending the whole month working on the serial tests. So like you can see, I mean, the big thundering herd thing on the 4th of August, like that's that sort of second big spike there, where you know, we had all of the PRs come free for when code freeze unfroze. But yeah, it's like basically it's just been the last week that we've really spiked. So.
Okay, so I guess action items here, just keep watching it and start trying to consolidate this.
Yeah. So I think that like in addition to just cleaning up the dashboard, I mean, this is a very complementary item to the last one, which is like, we've got a bunch of dashboards to clean up. And then once you're cleaning up the dashboards, you'll probably like notice when there's overlap between test suites and whatnot. And we might want to also try to consolidate some of the actual test infra jobs.
Yeah, I think quota is on CPUs, not on number of machines. So we need to. Yeah, I don't know what this 17 means.
I don't know, but I bet you that SIG testing could tell you, or SIG infra, since I think they're splitting.
Okay, I can ask Aaron what the 17 means. Yeah, because if it's number of cores, it's different than number of machines, and I'm pretty sure it's number of cores. I don't know whether you can set quota on number of machines.
Yeah.
My point is, like, some ideas like increase, like merge together topology manager and serial and increase number of CPUs needed may hurt us more than help us, because less nodes, but then like we're running with 4 cores for a while, for a longer time. Maybe we need to be careful there.
Yeah, I mean, surely like spinning up, if it's number of cores, for example, like, do we need, you know, 5 jobs where you've got 8 machines that all have 4 cores, or could we replace that with like 1 job that has maybe slightly larger machines? If it's just a core count, then I think that there's probably really easy savings to pick up, just because we have so many jobs, and like every job does come with CPUs. It's not like they're just using 1. So
the problem is like I said before with GC instances, that like it's correlated number of CPUs to amount of memory that you have under the machine. For example, if you using only 1 CPU, like you have available like 1 gigabyte of memory or something like this. If you're using 2 CPUs, you already have something like 3.5 gigabyte of memory. So sometimes we don't really need to increase like the number of CPUs, but we need to increase the number of memory, but we still need to increase the number of CPUs because we don't have a like any choice.
Okay. Let me take an action item to understand what this number means. And I'm surprised that our quota goes together with PR validation. I thought it's separate projects. It would be logical to have it separately, but yeah, I'll find out. So let's get into CI signal. Like last email from 122, CI signal had this issue. I think we already discussing it.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the status of that one is. There is a PR. It's merged. Does that mean this is fixed?
This is a specific job, yeah. It's not a.
Maybe go to test grid and look for, I think it's the orphans job. I don't understand the name of that job. It makes no sense to me.
This one?
It actually might be, if you scroll down, I might have a test grid link. I think I commented somewhere. Also, Governator's broken right now. Yeah, there we go.
Orphans.
Still failing.
Poetry run through. Yeah, still failing. Artem, are you looking at that?
I just exclude the memory manager test from it. I can take a look on it, like for future investigation. I don't have a problem with it. So
yeah, it looks like it's still failing. So
yeah, like you said, like what does it really orphan jobs? Like we should move it under some like other tab. I don't know, but I will check it. Yeah.
I don't know. No idea. You let us know.
Okay. And this one is where I picked it up. Yeah, this is new. Somebody created. I think it's also from the CI group. Some unit tests flaking on PR validation. It's a volume unmount detached. Maybe it's SIG storage. Maybe it's us.
It does sound like a SIG storage thing. I don't think Derek is going to look at this one.
Yeah, I want to. Okay. And yeah, we will triage it. Anybody wants to take it now? Or we'll go to the board and then discuss it. Looks very straightforward. Okay, I'll take a look.
Looks like an easy first review if somebody wants to take a look at it.
I can take a look this morning.
Down. What is your alias?
ELFIN. I can assign to myself.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and I just like, since we noticed that graceful termination failing, I want to, yeah, if it's failing, we need to create an issue for that. It's not supposed to fail. I think after Mike added email to all the kubelet jobs, we will start receiving emails, right? So maybe we didn't receive email for this test because it was failing for a while, but going forward, we will discover it easier.
Okay. So does that bring us to new bug triage board? If so, I'm excited.
Wait, wait. We have CI.
I'm not jumping ahead. I'm just prepping for you.
I just want to make sure that we have all reviews assigned. Okay.
You can assign this one to me if you like.
Okay. I did very shallow.
Yeah. Again, I need like to investigate the feature because like it always failed one test regarding to pod resource API feature getting, and I don't really understand why. So I need to. For now, we can just leave it as it is.
I'll at least take a quick look at it.
Yeah, sure.
Wait, no, author. Anyway, I will fish it out later. And then we have issue. Somehow it's in progress.
I think I might have. I don't know why it's in progress. Oh, it's under SIG Windows, so maybe that's why. Yeah, it's a SIG Windows thing. It's not really us.
Okay, so we archive it.
Well, no. It was filed as SIG Node because the test is named SIG Node, but then we reassigned it to SIG Windows. So we should at least. Dim had a comment there. We might be able to close this one. Do you want to go and look at Dim's comment?
No, Dim said that SIG Windows needs to look at it.
Well, it says it's green now, so we can probably, if it's green, then we can close it. Looks green to me.
It's better to close it. And then a couple to-dos.
Yeah, those need someone to look at them.
So swap, are you looking at that, Elena, or somebody else?
I am not looking at that one. For some reason, that one particular test is failing on the swap job, and I suspect it's because I feel like there was something that was wrong with the Fedora images on some of the cryo tests previously. And when we fixed that, that test stopped failing. Peter, is Peter on the call? He is not. I will try to ping either Peter or somebody at Red Hat to take a look at this one, because I think that this might be just more of the same.
So is this one that we excluded from like skipping now?
I don't know. Maybe it should be if it needs a GPU. If you click on the test grid tab, I was like, well, that's failing all the time. So maybe we should not do that. I haven't been able to find any successful runs of that test.
Let me find an owner for that.
It needs a GPU to debug, right? This one?
I don't know.
Yeah, I'll ask her in a team. Maybe somebody can pick it up. For now, it's in to do.
Yeah, I can take a look at the GPU test.
Okay, thank you. So maybe it's as easy like just remove it from this grid because maybe GPU is not available in this configuration.
Yep.
Okay. Cool. Now bug triage. Sorry, it only like 10 minutes left. I will stop sharing. We need to stop recording, right?
Not yet, because the bug triage board is new and I want it to be on the recording. So
Okay.
let me, did I pull it up? Maybe. Let me share my screen. Yeah, this is a new thing I've been testing out, so I'm hoping that you will like it, and at least that it will help us sort of stay on top of bugs. Can you see my screen?
Yes,
Yes.
you can.
Great. So this is a new project board that I made, and that's, I forget his full name, but N4J was helping me with, because I mentioned this was a thing that I wanted to try out. So Neeraj, great. There we go. Look, new things. Oh. That's an interest. I don't know if this is a bug. I don't think this is a bug. But anyways, we'll go through that. So basically, sort of, I tried to sort these based on their status. And the hope is that this board will maybe help us like ensure that we're looking at all of the new incoming bugs. Like even if I guess they kind of sit forever again, which is not the greatest thing. It sort of sucks when people file new bugs and they don't get a response. And this could help us as a group go through all of those and ensure that at least we're like taking a quick look at them. Know that like, you know, the pull requests are mostly steady state. And I think that people are kind of picking them up as needed when they need to be looked at. But I think that's not happening with bugs. So I think it might be good to actually triage bugs. And so I sort of sorted this board into bugs don't quite have the same statuses as pull requests might. So specifically, I wanted to like call out the high priority bugs. So anything that's critical, urgent, or important soon, and potentially might need like backports made. There's just everything that's been triaged. So all of these things in theory should have triage accepted on them. Yep. And then anything where we're like waiting on the person who filed it, I've thrown it in, like if it needs information or not reproducible or that kind of thing, I've thrown it in this column. So it's sort of like a waiting on author bug edition. But then everything that hasn't been triaged yet has like kind of in chilling. Anything that doesn't have the triage accepted label is chilling in this column. And so it might be good if we want to start going through these during the SIG Node meetings, because, or the CI meetings in particular, because that way we'll ensure that at least like we can kind of dole out the bugs and everybody can take a quick look at them and we can make sure that they're all sort of accurately filed. So are folks interested in taking a look at a few of these right now to get them triaged? This one is actually from tested for us, so it's definitely relevant. If you're nodding, I can't see it, so I'll just assume that you're nodding yes. So yeah, I guess let's look at a few of these, and then I'm hoping that we can sort of do this on an ongoing basis within the CI subgroup, and that way we'll at least be, you know, in a similar way to having incoming things that we're triaging for issues on the test board. We'll also be able to do that for bugs in Kubernetes, and other repos that people happen to file bugs against. So internal error when patching a service. That doesn't sound like SIG Node. Oh, this isn't, is this a support? Oh, this is kind. I don't think this is us. Error when applying patch sounds like API machinery and possibly networking, so I will remove SIG Node and then remove it from our board. Woohoo, that's one bug down. This doesn't sound like a bug to me. This sounds like a feature. / cleanup. feel like this is kind of code organization too, but I'm not sure what the label is for that. And I think we can probably triage accept this one.
Does it automatically go into accepted column?
I wish. No, there's like no automation on these boards, but also because this is not a bug, I'm going to remove it from the bugs board.
Oh, I see.
But yeah, we should definitely do this because it causes a bunch of problems. Let's see. Node problem detector. This is a CI thing.
Yep.
Apparently there's something failing because there's no cloud build.yaml in the node problem detector repo. Sergey, I feel like that most of the maintainers of node problem detector are at Google. Do you think you can find a person to work on this one?
Yeah, I think so.
I will try to triage accept this. I don't know if this repo uses the label. And I'll
make
submit
a
it to you,
note.
Sergey, and you can find a
Okay.
person.
Yeah, that's better.
Cool. Kubelet fails to start if the dynamic kubelet config feature gate is enabled via the kubelet configuration file. Oh yes, I think I took a look at this one the other day. And somebody linked this in the channel. There's a PR up for this, which basically moves the validation a little bit later in the startup, so that like it can actually read things out of the config file. That's probably a thing we should do, given that we're trying to like maybe long-term not have as many flags.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Then let me triage accept this one, and then I guess somebody needs to look at the PR, but that's tracked elsewhere.
Yeah, it may not be that relevant for dynamic config because it's been actively removed. But yeah, for other feature flags, it may be important.
Cool. And I guess this fellow has submitted the patch, so I will assign him. Okay. Kubelet cannot report part of memory metric and network metric with containerd. I feel like we have a bug open for this already. I think this is a duplicate.
You can just triage accept because well, David is working on that.
Okay.
It's mostly C advisor things.
We love some C advisor things. Do. C groups access in JVM containers failing. So I guess they upgraded Cube and then could not access C groups from inside their container on Flatcar. It sounds like a capabilities thing or something like that, maybe. I don't know if the defaults changed between 119 and 120. This was so long ago that it's like, I don't remember what the release note said. I think we need somebody to try to reproduce
did you say
this.
it happened in Flatcar?
Yes.
Sorry,
Yep.
Elena, did Flatcar you said?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you want to look at this one?
I'm not capable of looking into that one, but I'll talk to the concerned person to identify what could be the issue.
Okay, I shall assign you. And I guess I will triage this as needs information. Okay, I'm gonna ignore some of these lifecycle frozen ones because they're super old. Maybe we may go over those some other time. We've only got a couple minutes left, so I'll look at more of these ones that are labeled needs triage. And I guess we'll get through as many as we can.
We only have 1 minute left.
1 minute left. That sounds like one bug.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just want, maybe instead of a bug, I want to say it's a good idea to look at bugs. Like I thought of issues before, but like issues are too wide, and like discussing features is not very useful. But discussing bugs in this forum is a very good idea. I really appreciate you doing that.
Great.
Yeah,
well, I'm glad. So I guess we've got a bunch of bugs. We don't have a lot of time left. Do we want to do this as like kind of a regular thing going forward on a weekly basis? Like, do we just want to try to like get this backlog down a little bit each time, maybe synchronously or asynchronously? Because I'm sure the bugs are going to keep coming.
I mean, once we're done with triage, I think it will be easier to just triage on an ongoing basis, and then we need to decide how we look at bugs. Like we will have a pool of reliability issues that we need to start tackling. Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
Coming better and better, like quality increases every release.
That's the idea.
Cool. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Bye.
You too.
Okay, just
Thank you.
one thing,
Bye-bye.
if we
Oh,
can do
sorry.
some triage, sorry, if we can do some triage async also, that will be that will be really very helpful. The bug triage we're talking about, like if we can do it async also, that will be helpful.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay. Bye.
See you. Bye.